I figured I'd do an updated forge video, the one that I had made out of just old bed rails a few years ago. I had used it for all the purposes that I needed, and now that I've been having people come in for some classes here and there, I figured it was time to build something that people could enjoy and be excited to work with. So a friend of mine set about taking some reclaimed brick from the area that we live in. We cleaned it up and we built this forge. It has an 8-inch chimney flue. It draws very well once the chimney is actually warmed up. Has a simple homemade fire pot all out of 1/2-inch plate steel with interchangeable fire grates. This is good if I want to make a tall column of fire. And then I have a open grate, which is good for a broad, wide, shallower fire. I can still get it tall if I heap it up. The hood just helps channel the smoke into the chimney. Once the draft is going, it's not really needed, but I just leave it there because it's handy. A simple hand blower, and I'm sort of doing some testing with a electric blower. I've used them in the past in industrial forges and they're just nice to use. A simple rack for holding the tools. A hammer rack. And a rack for all the tongs. So real simple. I built the fire pot again out of 1/2-inch plate steel, so if I'm dousing it, I still have to be careful, but it's not as big a problem as when they're cast. You can crack your fire pot. This style fire pot, no issue. I could have made a clinker breaker, which sometimes I think would be all right, but it's really not a big deal to use this style either. I can forge for a good 3-4 hours using coke, just pure coke. And after about 4 hours of pretty hefty forging some large pieces like 2-inch car axle and big pieces like that, then it's time to clean up the fire, and I just get out my fire poker and I just sort of break up the clinkers and pop them out. Yes, a clinker breaker would be handy and nice, but this is what I decided to build. It was straightforward and pretty easy. This is just a simple 2-inch cast iron nipple on a piece of quarter-inch plate. Well, it's 1/2-inch actually. 1/2-inch plate. Hole drilled through it. A lot of for this style here, this fire grate generally gets like a pancake of clinker on top of it, so it's a little bit different. But this one here, most of the clinker runs off to the sides and the holes are left open, so there's just a big ring of clinker that builds up around it. I basically pull it out, drop it on the ground once or twice, all the clinker breaks off and it's ready to pop back in place. Clinker breaker would be simpler in some respects, but again, this is perfectly functional. It works great. Simple. It's the kind of thing that you can build yourself. I am not a bricklayer. A good friend of mine, Trevor, helped me do all of the brickwork, but it really wasn't complicated. I didn't go off of any drawings or any specific design. I knew based on the chimney that I had for my old forge that this would work perfectly fine. A larger diameter would definitely give a better flue draw, especially when the forge is cold, but once the chimney warms up and the brick warms up, it draws perfectly fine. It doesn't matter what the weather is. And coke helps because coke gives off very little smoke. But even when I'm running bituminous coal and a lot of that greenish yellow smoke is coming off of it, there's still no issues with it. So if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment if you have a question about it. I'm happy to share anything I did, any information you'd like to help you build your own. It was a simple table. Once we built basically the whole lower part of the forge, I took a piece of steel, I think it was 18 gauge steel, put that on the top. Now if the fire pot is burning super hot, it would warp this table. When I worked in the large factories, I saw 1/2-inch plate warp, no problem when there's enough heat there. So what I did is underneath of it, I welded heavy angle iron all the way around, which helps to reinforce it. And as I'm forging, what I also do is I just tend to dribble a bit of water around the edge of the fire, just all the way around the edge. Just helps to keep the table from warping. There's no issues. I mean, I've been running it for 7 or 8 months now. There's been no issues. It's been working good. No issue with the brick. And then the table for the brick, again, I put angle iron underneath the bottom of it to reinforce the plate, and then we just built straight up. And then I made a top cap for the chimney. So feel free to ask any questions.